Now to the basketball, John. Spencer Dinwiddie was sitting with Rob Pelinka the other night at Crypto.com Arena on the night that Kobe's statue was unveiled. I remember right after Kobe died, I was still living in New York at the time, John. And we were all, this was like in that weird space, right? The weird space after the death of Kobe Bryant and before COVID hit. It was like the death of Kobe, then All-Star, and people were talking about this virus or whatever. And then like a couple weeks after that, boom, everything ends. But everybody was getting like different reactions from players. And one of the most emotional reactions I remember seeing was Spencer Dinwiddie after a game. And Spence was talking about how Kobe approached him after a game and told him how much he admired him and respected him and how he had earned, Kobe's respect. Spencer Dinwiddie was in tears talking about this at his locker after the game. So for Spence to be in LA on the day his idol's, statue was being unveiled and dedicated in that really beautiful ceremony that a lot of people saw on NBA TV or wherever you saw it, that was in LA. It was almost seemed like a foregone conclusion that Spence was going to sign with the Lakers, just the emotional pull of all that. I'm very curious to see, John, how effective he's going to be. He's a guy who plays with the ball. Like, he's really effective when he can play with the ball. I don't know if there's going to be much of that with LeBron and AD and also D'Angelo Russell, who's been playing really, really well. And it's not like a difference-making acquisition. I think it's one for depth, and I think he is going to play. I'm very curious to see how it works out because, John, it looks like the Lakers are just destined for the play-in.
Yeah, is there any reason to believe they can overtake any of the teams above them, really?
Is there a reason to believe that they will they will hold off, rather, the team that's directly behind them that we're going to get to and talk to with a little bit of layering? I don't know.
That's true. One day I want, and this is probably an off-season thing, one day I want to dive into the Lakers bubble title with you because I think there's like some interesting threads there that aren't really explored, but okay. I threw this in the rundown, so I might as well say it on the podcast. Here's where the Lakers have finished the regular season every year since LeBron James signed with them. 10th, 1st, that was the bubble championship year, 7th, 11th, 7th, and they're currently 9th. So I don't think they're probably destined to be a top 4 or top 6 team. They didn't make any sort of big moves at the trade deadline that would make me think that they're about to take off on a 10-game winning streak or something like that.
Ain't no heater coming, John.
No, and Spencer Dinwiddie is not moving the needle all that much. And I think I was telling you before we recorded, being a Mavericks fan, Spencer Dinwiddie's time with Dallas is fun because he was a very effective player for the Mavericks. But he also shot 40% from 3 with the Mavericks, which he has never come close to doing anywhere else. He's basically a 31, 32% three-point shooter everywhere else except for the almost a full season he spent with the Mavericks. So I don't know what Lakers fans are expecting, but I don't imagine you're going to get the 40% from 3 version of Spencer Dinwiddie. And I don't think you're going to get the pre-ACL tear, borderline all-star guy with the Brooklyn Nets, Spencer Dinwiddie. I think he's kind of a shell of himself at this point.
I mean, when he first came into the league, the fact that Spence has been able to carve out this type of NBA career because he had major knee surgery when he was in Colorado. And then to come in and, at a point, being traded from Detroit to Chicago, maybe for Cameron Bairstow. Like there's a lot. Like, you can often tell some stories about what players you were traded for. what your value was around the league at a certain point. So for Spence to turn into a borderline all-star, to be a valuable cog for that Dallas Mavericks team that went to the Western Conference Finals, when I tell you they put Phoenix out of their misery that year and completely blitzed them in that game 7 in Phoenix, where you were looking up, you're like, man, Phoenix has barely scored. It's a 20-point game in the first quarter. They're not going to turn things around. Spencer Dinwiddie was a huge part of that.